So today we are here in the Northeast, and after that we'll be moving to the Western region, from where it will be culminating into the grand finale at the NISM campus at Mumbai. This year, NFLQ has truly become a pan-India journey, which has been connecting students from different states, different cultures. But the motto was common, that was financial awareness. And after seeing the participation in the proctored round, like we have around 70 students appeared for the proctored examination. Thank you so much for the participation. 35 colleges are in. And you being postgraduate students would be understanding the need for financial literacy. We had a decent participation from all the states: Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, Sikkim, and Tripura. NFLQ 2025, as you all are aware, it's a part of the advocacy efforts of both NISM as well as SEBI towards strengthening financial literacy among young learners. This initiative is both for the UG students as well as the postgraduate students. The undergraduate students had appeared for the quiz yesterday, and today this round is specifically for the postgraduate students. And your enthusiasm clearly shows that the interest in financial literacy is growing. Thank you so much. Thank you to the faculty members also who've been encouraging their students throughout for the online quiz, followed by the regional participation, and coming at Guwahati personally with them for this quiz. Thank you, sirs. Now, as you all are aware, I would like to introduce, we are deeply honored to have our NISM director, Mr. Sashi Krishnan. He's the highest authority at NISM, a well-known thought leader in financial markets. Now, being postgraduate students, you would understand by when I say financial markets, it would embrace all the segments in the financial markets. You can say capital markets, pension funds, insurance. So, Mr. Sashi Krishnan sir has been he has been heading various institutions, various companies in mutual fund, you can say insurance, capital market, ecosphere, of course, has been his domain expertise. So I would just like to say that, sir has been traveling with us length and breadth across the country. And under his leadership, NFLQ has reached to various regions. So we're very lucky to have him here. And having said that, I would now request sir, along with some of the people, our stakeholders here who are present, for lamp lighting. So this time it's going to be a different lamp lighting show. Sir, Sashi Krishnan sir will be coming. Along with that, we'll have a professor who will be accompanying for lamp lighting. Then from Assam, Don Bosco, there'll be a representative. We would have a student representative and also one parent. So I'll just call upon your names. Please come up on stage. Sashi sir, we please invite you for the stage. Can we have Dr. S. Karma Flaw from Northeast Hill University? Dr. Bijumani Das from Assam, Don Bosco. Then we also have a student with us, Banuhan Songthiang from Martin Luther Christian University at Shillong. Please come up. Mr. Manoj Kalita, he's a parent. Mr. Subhayudas, you can also come. And from Sikkim University also we have sir. So you may please come up on stage. I would request our director, Mr. Sashi Krishnan, to please come up on stage.
Good morning and welcome to the National Financial Literacy Quiz being organized by NISM and the Securities and Exchange Board of India. Thank you so much for all the enthusiasm that you have shown. There's an interesting bit of statistics which says that an average citizen today spends around 4.73 hours thinking of money in a day. And I think except for work, where you do tend to think a little bit more if you are, a working professional, the most amount of time we spent every day is thinking of money. But our relationship with money is extremely complex. And I think one of the key objectives of a program like this, a National Financial Literacy Quiz, is to get you to be a little more comfortable in this relationship that you have with money. And I think the problem is that no amount of financial education, no amount of formal training can completely define how your relationship with money will be. Because I think a large part of our relationship with money depends on our life experiences. It all depends upon the kind of life we live and the kind of experiences that we have in the life we live. But what we will attempt to do in this National Financial Literacy Quiz is to sort of nudge you along a path where you have a better understanding of what your relationship with money should be and can be. And let me tell you, if I look back at my own experiences, I don't think my relationship with money has been so much influenced by the professional training that I have. It has been influenced a lot more by my personal experiences. And if I wind back, and I look back at from where I came, my father came from a very small village in Kerala, and with great difficulty, he was able to sort of complete his masters. And as was usual in those days, and that was way back in the 30s and the 40s, 1930s and the 1940s, the first option that anybody thought of in those days was the civil services. So you wanted to join the government or the civil services. And I think even today that's quite true, because many of you may be aspiring after you complete your graduation to get a job with the government, because that's something that gives you a whole lot of securities. But this was even more true way back in the early 20th century. And unfortunately, he couldn't get into the government services, and it's even more difficult today to get into the government services, I suspect, because you've got a population of 130 billion, and with 70 billion people vying for a job with the government, it's going to be that much more difficult. So he opted for the next best thing in those days, and that was to teach. And that is no disrespect to all the faculty members out here. Obviously, it is a great place to be in. It's a wonderful profession to be in. But obviously, it's sometimes not the first option that many of us have. And if you wind back to the early 20th century, there was a time when India just got its independence, and the entire economic situation in this country was fraught with scarcity. We had very high inflation, interest rates were very high, unemployment was very high, and it was not an easy time for people. It was a very, very difficult time. And therefore, his relationship with money was influenced by the kind of environment that he lived in and he lived through. And believe me, unlike most of you younger generation today, he never invested in an equity share or a mutual fund. I mean, he didn't even know what an equity share or a mutual fund is. I mean, the biggest asset he ever owned in his life was a house. Because in those days, owning a house and buying a house was something that was, something that every middle class Indian aspired to have, and, he did, if he was able to spare some money at the end of the month, put a little bit of money into, what we used to call recurring deposits. I suspect you still have recurring deposits today, but I don't know if any of you actually put money into a recurring deposit or a fixed deposit, because that's a surefire way to lose money. Here is you putting money in a bank at 6% when inflation is at 7%. Literally you paying the bank money to keep your money, which actually made no sense. But I mean, his understanding of finance was just about that, and therefore he used to put a little bit of money in, recurring deposits. In fact, the only time he actually put some money in a mutual fund was when I convinced him to put some money into, the master share, because of the simple reason that I used to manage that fund, and therefore he took a leap of faith and he said, if I can't trust my own son, then who will I trust? And, he did put money into that, but he unfortunately had a very, difficult experience with it, but that's a story for another day. And given the fact that I grew up in this kind of environment, dinner table conversations, and if I may ask all of you, I hope you do have dinner table conversations, because those are conversations that are very important and will shape how your life, develops. But, today's Gen Z, I know, is, a lot more comfortable looking at their screens than, sitting at a dinner table. But that's, again, something which I would not, comment too much on. But dinner table conversations were all about, how do you preserve capital? How do you save money for a rainy day? How do you de-risk yourself? And therefore, that influenced the way that I would look at money and I would think of money. And believe me, for a very, very long time, most of my investments used to be in fixed income securities or the PPF or in insurance products and stuff like that. Right? And it's only, early into the early 2000s when I actually, was very comfortable managing money for equity funds and, managing money in the markets, that I moved a large part of my own investments into equity. So it took me close to around 20 years to actually realize that, I needed to reassess my relationship with money. And the entire sort of exercise that we want to do here at NISM is to make all of this younger generation a lot more comfortable with money, for them to understand that today financial literacy is a life skill. Financial literacy is not something that is going to be confined to the classroom. It's not something that, you walk into your, university course in the morning, listen to a couple of lectures on, how securities markets work, how the banking system works, how broking works, what is the capital asset pricing model, what are deep discount, what are dividend discount models. That is not clearly what will define your relationship with money. And, things like the National Financial Literacy Quiz is actually aimed at getting your generation, a lot more comfortable with money and the financial markets. And believe me, all of you are tremendously lucky, because today we live in an India that is far, far different from what India was, say, 10 years back, what India was 20 years back, let alone what India was, say, almost 75 years back. And that is simply because there are a couple of trends that have moved India into a new orbit. India will be not very far from today, the third largest economy in the world. In fact, I have been reading a lot of analysis which seems to suggest that possibly on a purchasing power parity basis, we could be, the largest or the second largest economy at some point of time, right? And, there are a huge number of trends that are sort of determining this path that India is taking. you have this huge digital revolution that is happening. This huge infrastructure push that is happening. You just need to go out into Guwahati and see the kind of infrastructure growth that has happened, because I have been visiting Guwahati, for almost 20, 30 years from now. And the Guwahati that I saw 30 years back and the Guwahati I see today is very, very different. In fact, what made me most happy is the fact that we finally have, a direct flight from Bombay to Guwahati today. I remember in the good old days, getting to Guwahati would be you take a flight from Bombay to Calcutta, from Calcutta to Guwahati, and today you could go from Guwahati to Bombay to Imphal in a direct flight. And maybe with all the kind of water that you have out here, all the kind of power you have, this semiconductor plant is not going to be very far away, because what you need is electricity and what you need is water for semiconductors. And I think the Northeast is blessed with that. But infrastructure, the digital revolution, the demographic dividend, all this is going to push India, in a direction that most of us will not be able to, imagine today. And I think that's a great place for all of you to be in. But while you are in that place, I think it is extremely important that you understand that financial literacy and financial skills are part of the life skills that all of you guys must have. And we do, hope that with efforts like the National Financial Literacy Quiz, all of you will sort of gain and sort of be able to become a lot more, let us say, vibrant citizens, if I may put it that way. There will be some of you who will win prizes, some of you will go on to the finals at, our Patal Ganga campus. But the bottom line is that all of you, by merely participating in this, and if this piques your interest to some extent, that you go on to do a lot more, can, in my opinion, make careers in the financial securities market, because this is a place where, there are going to be a lot of opportunities. But even if you don't make careers in this, because I'm sure there will be a lot of doctors and engineers out here who want to make careers elsewhere, understanding finance, understanding how it applies to yourself, understanding how you can create wealth for yourself is going to be so very important in the next, few decades, that all of you will take back something from this quiz, which I'm sure will make a very lasting impression. And therefore, dialing back to what I first said, it is our lived experiences that determine our relationship with money. And we all hope that this experience will change the way that you people now, relate to money. Thank you very much, and all the best for the quiz ahead.